Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Epic Living TV, Transformation Talk Radio, Lyme Light Radio, the Dr. Pat Show. As we like to say, this is Lyme from New York on Thursday night. Katina Makris joining me here today. I'm Dr. Pat. We've got a very special guest, right? Very super special.
Thank you. I'm very
super special. Too busy for us until now, right?
Tonight, too busy. Not usually. Usually I have time for you, but tonight was tough.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for joining us.
So David Roth.
David Roth, big player here. Really the one that I got to meet a year ago. I don't know if you remember. We met a year ago.
Of course.
Yes.
In Martha's Vineyard, I remember.
In Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah.
Where
beginning of John Donnelly's ride.
Right.
Beginning of the John Donnelly.
Back for the Cure.
Right back. I actually don't know how I ended up speaking there because I wasn't prepared really to speak there, but there it was. And apparently
you did a great job,
I had a few things to say about Lyme disease.
Shockingly.
What now, as you're breathing, what does this night come to mean for you right now in this moment?
Well, it's an incredible relief to have it over. As you can imagine, if you put these things on, I mean, it's just the amount of work. I mean, here's the challenge, I think. We need hundreds of millions of dollars to solve these problems.
Yes, we do.
We raised $1 million tonight.
Wow.
Massive amounts of effort. It's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm very happy. But it was massive amounts of effort. We have to find a way to leverage into much bigger dollars if we really want to make a difference. And that is, in finding that high net worth individual who's out there who wants to give more for a specific project like the biorepository that we spoke about tonight. Or it's getting the government to add another zero to what they spend. I mean, we raised $1 million with another zero. It's $250 million that the government would spend on this. Or it's, and where I think the most money is, biotech and venture capital needs to know that there's an opportunity here. And it's not a bad thing for people to make a profit, in my opinion, if they're solving the world's problems, which this is one. And there's a great need, and there's a marketplace, and people are developing diagnostic tests, treatments. Of course. Yeah. It's a public health crisis, and the numbers allow you to invest in the development of diagnostic tests and therapies that will actually make a profit for a company, and that's okay because that will help all of us. So part of what we're doing is trying to attract that kind of capital.
Well, you've been brilliant. You've been brilliant about this. I mean, since I talked with you last year, I've watched the changes, and we're honored to be part of that.
Well,
just
we're
thrilled,
so happy
honored.
to have you here.
And I talked to John tonight. I said, look, I've got Seattle ready for you. We're a big
He's
bike.
coming.
I said, come
He's
on.
Coming.
But you have gone from when we met last year to such a place where what I believe is such a place in the forefront. And all of the people we interviewed, whether you're talking to Kelly or somebody else, everyone's talking about what you guys have done. And that's really got to be the standard. That's got to be the standard.
There's a few things I would say. One, I really appreciate that, but it's hard because there's so much more that needs to be done. And so people say how much we've done. I feel like we haven't done anything yet. I feel like it's all sort of a precursor for things to come. So I do appreciate that, but there's so much that needs to be done. Second thing I would say is we have 65 Lyme organizations around the country. Something like that, maybe 70, maybe 100, I have no idea. Yeah. All splinter groups that are sort of not working together in any coordinated fashion. Part of the Bite Back for a Cure ride was designed to sort of find a way to connect with a lot of these groups. We need to find a way to get people from around the country to start working in a coordinated manner if we're going to make a difference. And clearly what we can't allow is people to work at odds, which has happened in the past with the Lyme community. So we are working with Bay Area Lyme Foundation on our biorepository. We have very close relationships with a lot of the other groups out there, including LRA and all the groups in New York we're working with right now to pass legislation that allows doctors, basically protects doctors who prescribe greater than 30 days of antibiotics. So We're really hopeful that we'll serve as a model for groups to start working with each other.
Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying because, for those of us, I don't know about you two, but I didn't think I would ever get well. I didn't. I mean, I was putting all my affairs in order.
Yeah.
I didn't think there was help.
I had those moments too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the reason I can say to you is what an honor it is to be chatting with you and what you've been able to do is also in recognition that we've only just begun. Right? But it's a damn good beginning is what I want to say, right?
It's very true. We've only just begun. The next 5 to 10 years, I think, the doors are going to start to open because of your work and others galvanizing, and also us broadcasting.
Absolutely. What you guys do is incredibly important.
Dialogue,
Yeah.
right?
We need a copy. Look, this is very similar to the AIDS. I'm sure you've sort of studied the AIDS crisis.
I was
very
part of
similar to
that.
the early days of that,
I was
right? And
part
you were
of
part
that.
of that. So, what did they
I'm
do?
a little older than you two.
What did they do, though? What did you do at that time? You combined grassroots use of the masses
Absolutely.
with science.
Yep.
You can't have one without the other. And so, that's what we hope to do.
Well, I think that, what's coming to the forefront, at least, I'm a researcher as well. And here's what I love about this. Myself and others, we're putting together anecdotal information. Even though it's not hard empirical research, which I'm very familiar with, there are jewels in the anecdotal information because while statistics and, significance and all of that gets the scientific community, you've got to couple that with real stories. That's what people...
Well, that's one of the things that John Donnelly is going to try to do.
Right.
John's goal is to communicate with the Lyme community, to work on all of our rides and all of our events throughout the country, and to try to find a way to bring out those stories, because this is a disease where people sit back and live in silent suffering, and they need to have their stories told. And I don't know from a scientific standpoint whether enough stories told actually get you where you need to go.
Like a tipping point.
But you know what it does? We need to find a way to get the government to focus on this. We can't do that unless we get the stories out. That's why having Debbie Gibson here was such a special
important.
thing.
It was
and
very
so
important.
And I said to her, and Angelique, and by the way, I didn't meet Angelique. I feel terrible. I have to see if she's around.
Her, so you can
and I love Angelique.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to her, but I didn't meet her. So, there's great amounts to do, but I'm as people say, tentatively optimistic.
I love that about you, though. Because, I take my happy pill every day. And so we need to have someone that is at that place of optimism, but fiercely committed to more.
Right.
See, when I think about you are fiercely committed to more.
Right.
And that's why I love what you do, and I love who you are.
Appreciate
because
that.
I know I can count on you. See?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah. And for somebody like me, I've been battling this a long time. I haven't had very much to count on.
Yeah.
I haven't had very many people that I could count on. But I know with you, David, I can count on you. I know I can count on you. And that's all of the things you've said, both of you said, are really important. But I will tell you this, for someone like me and the people I talk to, they need to have people that they can count on. They need to know that you're not going to go away tomorrow.
Right.
That all of their work, everything, has been because of this. That's why we flew here for a reason. This is going to be aired on a network, a brand new network, an ETV network.
Awesome.
100 million women, okay?
Fantastic.
So,
by the way, that's our demographic.
It is.
So if you look at all the stuff online, it's basically mothers. It's women who are worried about their kids. They're 30 to 50 years old, and they're largely women. That's fantastic.
Well, and we represent the fastest growing, largest group of autoimmune disease people now.
And we're going to find it's all connected.
It is.
And we're going to find, and I can't tell you that everybody who suffers from immune disorders is suffering from a tick-borne disease.
That's
but
right.
I can tell you, and I tell researchers and I tell people who want to give money all the time, that with Lyme you have a pathogen that impacts the body in ways that we see in a lot of other conditions.
Right.
So if we study this, I think we're going to find will help Lyme
Crossover.
people, and there's going to be crossover because either the pathogen or the pathogenesis is similar.
Well, you know, if we could zap the pathogen and it goes away, but then there's still the other condition, then isn't this a perfect marriage of working together?
Yeah,
Right? And if there's not, then we're all better for it.
right.
Isn't that great? What is on the horizon? What are you most looking forward to?
So we have a couple things that I can't speak about yet, but I hope
Yeah.
to. I will. I'd love to
I love
announce
that.
Well, you'll come
here,
on the show
but I will
and
come on the
announce.
show
Right,
when it happens. But a couple things that we're working on that are big. But tonight was largely about this biorepository effort that we're working on.
Right.
The researchers don't have samples to work on. Not only do they not have samples, but all the samples that have been collected from this very small group. They're people
Exactly.
who had
Right.
met very, very limited CDC criteria.
Right.
We're going to try to collect that because you have to start at that core. But there are all these people, I don't know a lot of Lyme sufferers who meet the very specific CDC definition. I know an awful lot of people who don't. And so we have to figure out, it's almost like a Venn diagram. We've got this very small group of people that meet the CDC definition,
Right.
and we have many others that are probably suffering from Lyme or other
Right.
tick-borne diseases. Those people don't get studied at all because
No.
you can't create a cohort.
Right.
You can't study that group because you can't create the group.
Right.
So we need to find diagnostic tests that allow us to identify the group. This is a multi-year effort.
Yes, it
but
is.
the diagnostic test researchers need samples, and so that's what we're going to work on pretty hard.
I like it. That's great. Broadening the whole horizon.
We're going to try to
Reaching
broaden
out.
the definition because a lot of the problems we suffer are definitional. I don't know about you, but somebody has a tick bite and they get sick with Lyme-like symptoms, and it turns out to be Borrelia miyamotoi. And it can be treated with antibiotics,
Right.
but it doesn't show up on the diagnostic test. And the researchers or the doctors say that's not Lyme. But to the patient, it's Lyme. This is not different than
What
Lyme. This is
strain?
Right.
it's a
Strain,
spirochetal
right.
infection from
Right.
a tick bite. And
Right.
so I think we're going to find that is an issue out there that we have to find a way to address, or we're not going to capture in an early stage diagnostic test all these people who are getting sick. It's super complicated.
Yeah, it
it's
is.
a really complicated problem.
But
and
there's a lot of brilliant minds out
There
there.
are.
There's a lot of brilliant minds.
There
and
are.
There's people willing to jump in the equation, and that's
And
what
we're smart.
you're doing.
We're smart.
Alliance. You're making connections and bringing the best together.
Look, my hope is that the other thing about having a biorepository is that today, for somebody who's not part of the Lyme research community to work on Lyme disease, they have to actually raise money to go collect the samples.
Yes.
So they may be 2 or 3 years away from working on it. If we had a biorepository
Yeah.
that had that sample base, it's a little like if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And our hope is to bring people from other areas because there are great researchers in the Lyme field, but there are an awful lot of people who, either because there wasn't money in this field or there was a lot of controversy or both,
Right.
just don't think about it. And
Right.
so if we can change the perception about it, if we can change the access to well-characterized samples, I hope we can bring people who are thinking about other diseases, have things that are applicable that can be brought to the table.
Well, I think we're getting real close to home in a lot of this for a lot of people and a lot of doctors. And, I didn't think in the past year since we were together that the media would turn in a positive way, I should say. I never would have thought that. But thanks to the courage of a number of people coming to the forefront, we're starting to see that. But with anything, it brings controversy.
Correct.
And there was a book that was written back in the 80s, maybe even earlier. The book was called Backlash. And it's a very, very famous book about the women's movement. And when you get arguments and cases and the other side, you know you're doing something good.
Yeah. I mean, look,
That's what you know.
the closer you get to home, the more the fight.
Well, you guys are right on it. Thank you so much.
Yes.
thank you so much for coming. And I know I've been to Seattle many times. I had a company that I was partnered with there, and I know how far it is. So really appreciate it. I apologize we got rid of the rain. I know you guys like the rain, but it's
I
beautiful
got
out
it yesterday.
now.
I
Yes.
came in and got it yesterday. What's your personal message, David? What do you want to tell everyone
My personal message is, if you're out there and you're suffering, come out and talk about it. We need to have these stories told. We need to have them on, Katina and Pat's show, and we need to have, people writing to their Congress people. We're going to have, we've got a voter voice site that allows you to come on and send, an email out to your Congress people. We're going to be doing the same thing in New York in support of this bill shortly.
Yes.
So I think that is the message. The other message is one of hope. Stick with it, stay in there, try different things. It's we don't know enough about this, and therefore we don't have a silver bullet, unfortunately. So you gotta try different things and give each one enough time to we've all been through it. You gotta each person has a different
constitutional
different genetics and different strains and different whatever. And so.
Visit Tick-Borne
Disease Alliance.
TBD Alliance.
TBD Alliance.
TBD Alliance.org.
Don't worry about it. We're going to have graphics and everything in this for you.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.